It was a cold evening. The airport was full of tired faces and rushing footsteps. Among the noise and light, one man walked slowly toward the gate. His name was Ethan Blake. People in the business world called him the Iron CEO. He was rich, powerful, and successful, but at that moment, he looked like a man who had forgotten how to breathe. His suit was perfect, his watch expensive, but his eyes were heavy. He had just finished 3 meetings in 2 countries. His phone had not stopped buzzing all day. Even now, as he waited to board the plane, messages from his company filled the screen. He sighed, switched the phone off, and rubbed his face. No one around him noticed. No one cared. Everyone was busy, just like him. When he finally stepped inside the airplane, he looked for his seat near the window. He placed his briefcase carefully in the overhead bin and sat down. The soft hum of the engine almost made him close his eyes. He thought, just a few hours of peace. No calls. No meetings. But peace was not waiting for him that night. A few minutes later, a small girl walked down the aisle holding a tiny pink backpack. She was about 7 years old, with bright eyes and messy hair. Behind her came a flight attendant, helping her find her seat. The attendant smiled and said, "Sweetheart, this is your seat right here." The girl looked at Ethan and smiled wide. "Hi," she said softly. Ethan nodded once, forcing a small smile. He was not in the mood for talking. He wanted silence. Maybe sleep. The plane began to move. The lights dimmed. Passengers fastened their seatbelts. As the plane rose above the city lights, Ethan looked out of the window. The world below grew smaller and smaller, like all his problems were trapped down there. He closed his eyes. Then a little voice broke the silence. "Sir," the girl said, her voice soft and clear. "Look tired." Ethan opened his eyes slowly and turned to her. For a second, he didn't know what to say. He gave a short laugh and said, "A little, maybe." The girl kept watching him. Her eyes were calm, almost serious, not like most children. She said, "My mommy says people who forget to smile get tired faster." Ethan blinked, unsure how to reply. Forget to smile? It had been so long since he truly smiled that he couldn't remember the last time. He turned back to the window, pretending to look outside. But the girl's words stayed in his mind like a soft echo. A flight attendant came by with drinks. The girl took an orange juice. Ethan asked for water. As the attendant left, the girl leaned forward again. "Are you going to see your family?" she asked. Ethan hesitated. "No," he said quietly. "Just work." She nodded slowly, swinging her legs under the seat. "My daddy works a lot too," she said. "Mommy says he's trying to build a big dream." Ethan gave a small smile. "That's good. Big dreams are important." The girl looked down at her hands. "But sometimes," she whispered, "dreams make people forget small things, like stories before bed." Ethan froze. The hum of the plane grew louder in his ears. Her words felt strange, almost personal. He looked at her again. She was now drawing something on a small notepad. A picture of clouds. A man and a little girl holding hands. "Nice drawing," he said softly. "Thank you," she said without looking up. "I draw what I miss." Ethan didn't know why, but his chest felt heavy. The little girl smiled again, innocent and calm. "Sir," she said once more, "maybe you should sleep. You look very, very tired." He laughed quietly this time, shaking his head. "You sound like my assistant." She giggled, the sound pure and light. "Maybe your assistant is smart." He leaned back in his seat, closing his eyes but not to sleep. His mind was suddenly full of questions. Why did that child's words hurt so much? Why did she remind him of someone? Outside the window, the sky was dark and silent. Inside the plane, the little girl had already fallen asleep, holding a small teddy bear close to her chest. Ethan looked at her once more. Something strange stirring in his heart. A mix of guilt and longing he couldn't explain. He whispered to himself, "You look tired, sir." Repeating her words, for the first time, they sounded like the truth. He didn't know it yet. But that simple sentence from a little girl was about to change everything in his life. The soft lights inside the plane glowed like stars. Most passengers were already asleep. The air was calm, filled with the low hum of the engines. Ethan Blake sat still, his thoughts moving faster than the aircraft itself. He looked again at the little girl beside him. She slept peacefully, her small head resting on the pillow, her teddy bear tucked under her chin. Ethan tried to close his eyes, but his mind refused to rest. Her words echoed over and over. "You look tired, sir. People who forget to smile get tired faster." Those lines felt heavier than his suitcase full of business papers. He rubbed his forehead, trying to push them away. But something about her voice felt familiar, like a song he once knew, but had forgotten how to hum. After an hour, the girl woke up. She yawned, blinked her big brown eyes, and smiled at him again. "Did you sleep, sir?" she asked softly. Ethan shook his head. "Not really. You should try," she said. "When I can't sleep, Mommy says I should count the stars." He smiled faintly. "There are no stars in here," she pointed toward the window. "There are always stars. You just have to look for them." He followed her gaze. Outside, the dark sky stretched endlessly. Tiny dots of light shimmered in the distance, just barely visible beyond the clouds. For a strange reason, her words made him feel calm. "What's your name?" he asked after a moment. "Lily," she said proudly. "Lily Carter. Nice name," he said. "Do you like flying?" She nodded eagerly. "Yes. I love looking at the clouds. They look like pillows." And she added with a giggle, "But Mommy says I talk too much on planes." Ethan chuckled for the first time in days. "Well, I don't mind. Talking keeps the flight less boring."
Hi, Lily.
Eyes brightened. "Okay then. Can I ask you something?" "Sure." She looked serious now. "Why do you look sad when you're not talking?" The question hit him harder than any business deal gone wrong. He hesitated, trying to hide the surprise on his face. "Do I?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, you smile, but your eyes don't." Ethan looked down. No one had ever said that to him before. Not even his colleagues, not even the people closest to him, if anyone was close anymore, he said quietly. "Maybe because I'm just ... tired." "Tired from working?" she asked. "Yes." "My daddy works a lot too," she said softly. "Mommy says he wants to make everyone happy, but he forgets to be happy himself." "Aka." Ethan's chest tightened. He looked away quickly, pretending to take a sip of water. Lily kept talking. "Mommy says dreams are good, but family is better." "Do you have a family, sir?" Ethan stayed silent for a few seconds. Then he said, "I used to. I mean, I do, but I don't see them much." "Why not?" He forced a small smile. "Because work keeps me busy." Lily tilted her head. "But you can be busy and still call them." "I call my daddy every night before bed, even when he's far away." Her words felt like tiny knives. He hadn't called his daughter in months. Every time he planned to, something important came up. He nodded slowly. "You're right," he said softly. "I should call more." She smiled. "You'll feel better after. Promise." He looked at her face, so full of innocence and truth. Something about her felt familiar, but he couldn't place it. The plane shook lightly as turbulence began. Lily grabbed her teddy bear tightly. Ethan noticed and said gently, "Don't worry. It's just some air bumps." She nodded, but her eyes showed fear. He offered his hand, and she held it without hesitation. Her small fingers wrapped around his. "Thank you," she whispered. "Daddy used to hold my hand like this when I was scared." Ethan's breath caught. "Used to?" he asked quietly. She looked down. "He's busy now. But Mommy says he still loves me, even if he forgets sometimes." The words sank deep into Ethan's heart. For the first time in years, he felt something crack inside him. "Something real," he whispered. Almost to himself, maybe he just needs someone to remind him. Lily smiled again. "Maybe you can remind him when you see him." Ethan nodded slowly, his eyes wet, though he didn't know why. Outside the window, dawn began to rise. The first light of morning painted the clouds gold. Ethan stared at it quietly, unaware that this little girl sitting beside him was about to remind him of something far greater than work. something he had almost forgotten, what it meant to love and to be loved. The golden light of morning slipped through the airplane window, painting soft lines across Ethan's face. He hadn't slept all night. His mind kept replaying every word the little girl had said. Lily Carter, 7 years old, bright eyes, warm heart, and a voice that touched places inside him he thought were long gone. He turned to look at her again. She was now busy drawing in her small notebook, humming a tune under her breath. The song sounded familiar, so familiar that Ethan's heartbeat slowed for a moment. He couldn't place it, but he had heard that melody before. Long ago? What are you drawing? He asked gently. Lily smiled without looking up. A surprise, she said. A surprise for who? She looked at him and said with complete honesty, for my daddy. Ethan smiled faintly. That's nice. He'll love it. Lily tilted her head. I hope so. He forgets my drawings sometimes. Mommy says he's very busy saving the world. Ethan froze. The words were so close to something his ex-wife had once said to their daughter. His chest tightened, but he forced a laugh. Saving the world. That sounds important. Lily nodded seriously. Yes. He works in a tall glass building. Mommy says he's the boss of many people. Ethan blinked. A tall glass building? That could describe his office. He tried to shake off the thought. There were many buildings, many bosses. Coincidence? Nothing more? He asked softly, Do you miss him? Lily nodded again. Every day? But Mommy says he still loves me even when he's far away. Sometimes when I'm sad, I write him letters. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. Letters. Yes, she said proudly. But Mommy keeps them safe. She says one day he'll read them all and smile again. The word smile hit him like thunder. The one thing he hadn't done in months. He looked away, feeling something deep inside him twist. To change the subject, he pointed at her teddy bear. What's his name? Lily grinned. Brownie. Daddy gave it to me when I was a baby. Ethan's fingers tightened on the armrest. His daughter had a teddy bear named Brownie too. The same name. The same color. The same size. He turned toward her slowly. That's a nice name, he said quietly. How old were you when you got it? She thought for a second. Mommy says I was just 1. It was my first birthday gift. His heart pounded. Her first birthday gift. From her father, ... He wanted to ask more, but his throat felt dry. That's very special, he said, trying to sound calm. Lily smiled proudly. Yes, Mommy says he searched everywhere to find it. Ethan swallowed hard. He remembered that day, the day he ran through 3 toy stores to find a small brown bear for his baby girl. His baby girl. The air around him felt heavy. He tried to breathe normally, but something inside him knew. Knew before his mind accepted it. Still, he asked, Where are you going, Lily? To New York, she said. Mommy and I are going to visit someone important. Ethan's voice trembled slightly. Someone important? Yes, she said softly, her tone changing. Mommy said, maybe I'll see Daddy again. The sound of those words crushed him. His hands went cold. He wanted to speak, to ask, to understand, but fear held him still. Just then, Lily opened her little backpack to take out crayons. Inside, Ethan saw a folded piece of paper sticking out a photo. He caught a glimpse. His heart stopped. It was him, a younger version of him, smiling widely, holding a baby in his arms. Lily noticed his eyes on the photo. That's my daddy, she said proudly. Mommy says he used to smile like this before he got too busy. Ethan couldn't speak. His throat burned. The world around him seemed to fade. For a few seconds, he just stared at the picture, at the girl, at the truth. Lily looked up at him, confused by his silence. Are you okay, sir? He blinked, forcing a shaky breath. Yes. Yes, I'm okay. But he wasn't. His hands trembled. His heart screamed. He turned back to the window, tears quietly forming in his eyes. The clouds outside looked softer than ever, like they were hiding the truth he had ignored for years. The little girl sitting beside him, innocent, kind, and full of love, wasn't just a stranger. She was his daughter, and she didn't even know it yet. Ethan. Blake sat frozen in his seat, staring at the picture that had just changed everything. His throat felt dry, and his heartbeat was uneven. That smiling man in the photo holding a baby, wrapped in a pink blanket, was him. No mistake. No doubt, the memory came rushing back like a wave. That photo was taken on his daughter's first birthday. He had held her close, promising to always be there. But time, greed, and work had stolen that promise away. He blinked rapidly, afraid Lily might notice the shock in his eyes. But she was too busy coloring, humming softly. Her little fingers moved over the page with care, crayons scattered on the tray table. Ethan swallowed hard and forced a smile. "That's a nice picture," he said quietly. She nodded. "Yes, Mommy says Daddy used to smile like that all the time. But then he got busy with work. She said he's not bad. Just tired." Those words stabbed deeper than any criticism he had ever heard in boardrooms. Not bad, just tired. He looked away, his mind spinning. Every late night, every missed call, every canceled birthday party, all for what? Deals and deadlines that meant nothing now. He whispered under his breath, "What have I done?" Sir Lily's small voice broke his thoughts. "Are you okay?" He nodded quickly, trying to sound normal. "Yes. Just thinking," she smiled, holding up her drawing. "See, I drew me and Daddy at the park. Mommy says he used to take me there before he got so busy." Ethan's eyes burned. He remembered that park. The last time he was there, she was only 2, chasing butterflies while he answered emails. He had promised they'd come back. They never did. He wanted to speak, to tell her the truth, but fear gripped him. What if she didn't remember him? What if she hated him for leaving? The plane lights dimmed as the flight attendants prepared breakfast trays. The quiet hum of passengers filled the air. Ethan stared at his reflection in the window. For the first time, he didn't see a CEO. He saw a stranger, a man who had everything, except the one thing that truly mattered. When the attendant passed by, Lily asked for pancakes. Ethan didn't speak. His mind was miles away, lost in the past. She looked up at him. "You're not hungry?" He shook his head. "Not really. You should eat," she said kindly. "Mommy says skipping breakfast makes people grumpy." He gave a weak smile. "Your mommy sounds very wise." "She is," Lily said proudly. "She says Daddy works hard because he loves me, but sometimes people forget what love really means." The words hit him harder than the turbulence earlier. Forget what love means. He felt tears forming, but he blinked them away quickly. "Do you miss your daddy?" he asked softly. "Every day," she said without hesitation. "I dream about him coming home. Mommy says maybe he will, when his heart remembers." When his heart remembers. Ethan looked down, his hand trembling slightly. He leaned back and closed his eyes, fighting the weight of guilt pressing on his chest. Memories flooded him, her laughter, her tiny hands, her first steps. The day she called him Daddy for the first time, he had traded all of it for meetings and money. After a few minutes, Lily spoke again, her voice gentle. "Sir, can I tell you a secret?" He nodded slowly. "Sometimes," she whispered, "when I miss Daddy, I look at the sky and say goodnight. Mommy says the sky connects everyone who loves each other." Ethan's breath caught. "That's beautiful, Lily." She smiled shyly. "Maybe you can try that too if you miss someone." He could no longer hide his emotions. A single tear slid down his cheek before he could stop it. Lily noticed. "Hey," she said softly, "don't cry. Everything will be okay." Ethan smiled through the pain. "You sound just like an angel." She giggled. "Mommy says Daddy used to call me that." He froze again. The final confirmation. The name, the memory, everything connected perfectly now. Ethan looked at her early-looked hand for the first time. He saw his little girl. Not as a stranger, not as a passenger, but as the piece of his heart he'd lost long ago. He whispered shakily, "Lily." Before he could finish, the captain's voice echoed through the speakers, announcing the landing in New York. The truth had finally found him. 30,000 feet above the ground, and now He had to find the courage to face it. The captain's voice faded into silence, but Ethan Blake barely heard it. His ears rang with one truth. The little girl beside him, innocent, bright, and pure, was his daughter. His Lily. He stared at her tiny hands clutching the teddy bear. His mind screamed to say something, but his heart trembled with fear. How could he tell her? After all these years of absence, how could a few words fix the damage of silence? The plane began its descent, gliding through soft layers of white cloud. Lily looked out the window, amazed. "It's so pretty," she said. "It looks like candy." Ethan forced a smile, but his voice cracked when he whispered, "Yes, it's beautiful." He watched her face, memorizing every tiny expression, the excitement, the curiosity, the warmth. He had missed all of it. The birthdays, the drawings, the hugs, every little moment that money could never buy. When the plane landed and the seatbelt signs turned off, Lily looked up at him. "Thank you for sitting with me, sir." "You're very kind." Her words pierced his chest. She was thanking her own father, a man who had left without goodbye. He swallowed hard. "Lily," he said softly, "can I tell you something before you go?" She nodded eagerly. "Yes." He hesitated. His heart raced. His mouth opened, but no sound came. He couldn't do it. Not yet. Then something inside him broke. A flood of emotions, buried for years, burst out all at once. He covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook as quiet tears fell. Lily stared in surprise. "Sir, are you crying?" He tried to speak, but the words came out broken. "I am sorry." She leaned closer, worried. "Did I say something wrong?" He shook his head, unable to look at her. "No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. It's me. I've done everything wrong." She blinked, confused. "You're sad?" He nodded, finally meeting her eyes. "Yes, very sad. I've been sad for a long time." Her small hand reached out and touched his arm. "Mommy says when people are sad, they need a hug." Ethan's heart cracked completely. He didn't deserve her kindness. He didn't deserve anything. But still, she leaned forward and wrapped her tiny arms around him. The warmth of that hug melted years of distance. It was the same small hug he remembered from when she was a baby. The same little hands. The same soft voice, he whispered, voice trembling. "I missed this. I missed you." Lily tilted her head. "Missed me? But we just met." His eyes filled again. "No, sweetheart," he said, his voice breaking. "We didn't just meet. You've always been with me." Here, he placed a hand over his heart. Lily looked confused. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. The truth had waited long enough. "Lily, I'm your daddy?" For a second, she didn't move. Her eyes widened, searching his face. "You're my daddy." Ethan nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Yes, baby, I am. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I thought work was important, but I forgot the most important thing in my life."
Ow.
Lily stared at him in silence. Then her lips trembled. "You left us." The words hit him like a punch. "I know," he whispered. "I know I did. And I hate myself for it. I should have been there when you needed me." Her eyes filled with tears, too. "Mommy cried a lot," she said softly. "I asked her why Daddy didn't come home. She said maybe he forgot how to love." Ethan's voice cracked completely. "I didn't forget, Lily. I just lost my way." Neither spoke. Only the hum of passengers and the sound of his quiet sobs filled the air. Then Lily reached out and touched his face, wiping away a tear with her tiny hand. "You don't look tired anymore," she whispered. "You look like Daddy." Ethan laughed through his tears, a broken, trembling laugh. "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that." Lily smiled softly and hugged him again, tighter this time. "It's okay," she said. "You found me now." He held her close, tears falling freely. Around them, people were leaving the plane. But Ethan didn't move. For the first time in years, he didn't feel tired, powerful, or busy. He just felt human and loved. The airport was alive with movement, rolling suitcases. Tired travelers, soft announcements echoing through wide halls. But Ethan Blake heard none of it. His world had gone quiet. He walked slowly beside Lily, her small hand resting inside his. For the first time in years, he felt something real warmth. Not from success, not from applause, but from the tiny fingers that trusted him completely. Outside, morning sunlight painted golden lines across the floor. The smell of coffee and the sound of laughter from strangers filled the air. Life was happening all around, and Ethan realized he had missed so much of it. Lily swung her teddy bear and looked up at him. "Daddy," she said softly. The word still new on her tongue. "Are you coming with us?" Ethan stopped. The question pierced him like light breaking through clouds. He looked at her, those innocent eyes that had waited years without knowing. "Yes," he whispered. "If Mommy lets me," Lily grinned. "She'll be happy. She always says people can change when they remember love." Her words sank deep. People can change. He wanted to believe that he needed to. They reached the arrivals area. Ethan's heartbeat quickened as he spotted a familiar face waiting near the exit. Claire, Lily's mother. She looked just as he remembered, yet different, stronger. Her eyes met his. Filled with surprise and guarded emotion, Lily ran to her. "Mommy? Guess what? Daddy sat next to me on the plane." Claire froze. The words hung in the air like a secret suddenly revealed. She looked at Ethan, unsure, speechless. He stepped forward slowly, nervous like a stranger. "Hi, Claire." Her voice was steady, but soft. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "I didn't plan it," he said honestly. "But maybe life did." Lily, still holding her teddy bear, looked between them with hope in her eyes. "Can we go home now? All of us?" Claire knelt beside her, brushing her hair gently. "Sweetheart, Daddy has work," Ethan interrupted quietly. "No, I don't. Not today. Not for a while." Claire looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "I called my office before we landed. I told them I need time off. Maybe a long time. I'm done chasing things that don't matter." Her eyes softened, the ice beginning to melt. "You mean that?" Nodded. "For the first time, yes. I've spent years building towers of glass and gold, but I lost my home in the process. I don't want to lose it again." Lily smiled, hugging her teddy. "See, Mommy? I told you, Daddy still loves us." Claire exhaled, tears forming. "Lily, go get a snack, okay? Mommy and Daddy need a minute." Lily nodded and skipped away to a nearby counter. Ethan turned to Claire, his voice trembling. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But sitting next to her, hearing her talk about me like a hero I never was, it broke me. She still believes in me. And somehow, so do I." Claire's eyes glistened. "Do you really want to try again?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, I want to be part of her world, not just a photo in her backpack." For a long moment, they stood there, two people with 1,000 memories and one last chance. Then Claire took a deep breath and said quietly, "Then come home." Ethan smiled through his tears, something pure and peaceful lighting his face. It was the same smile from the photo Lily carried. Outside, the day was bright and alive. The three of them walked toward the exit together. No meetings. No deadlines, just laughter and sunlight as they reached the doors. Lily looked up and said, "Daddy, you don't look tired anymore." Ethan lifted her in his arms. "That's because I finally woke up," said with a smile. They stepped out into the open air, father, mother, and daughter, together again. Walking toward a future they thought was lost. Behind them, the airport noise faded, replaced by the sound of hope. And in that simple, beautiful moment, the man who once ruled the world found what truly ruled his heart: love, family, and peace.